example. People have been, including liberals, by the way, not just us crazy lefties, have been talking about how the attack on Roe versus Wade is this huge deal. That's already led to a Molotov bombing of an office. That's going to lead to a lot of stochastic violence. Should I not say, like, yeah, Republicans are revoking Roe v. Wade on a federal level because, they don't believe in women's reproductive and health rights?
He's also pushing the sort of narrative that Republicans are doing this when technically the Supreme Court is not Republicans or Democrats.
I guess at the end of the day, speaking frankly, my positions are so objectively correct that I feel like outside Destiny's obsession and the waves that makes, you'd have to be like really fucking retarded to disagree with them.
Most people out there do not believe that Republicans are trying to create this camp or have these plans of killing off minorities or gay people or whatever, and Vaush is the one pushing this idea and obviously wants to change this. AiA episode 40, Why Vaush's Rhetoric is Dangerous. I will be exploring an online content creator, YouTuber, streamer, Vaush. Many of you have probably heard of him. He's one of the most famous online leftist figures, but he's had a quite weird rhetoric going on for the past couple of months now, and it seems to be amping up even more. And it's basically about Republicans being evil and all conservatives are bad, and we might need to take up arms and do a nudge, nudge, wink, wink sort of thing. But I will try to fully explain that. Obviously, I have a lot of things to show you. You could see how many tabs I have open right now. So again, just bear with me. I'm going to try to keep this episode quite concise because there might be some Vaush fans that actually watch this video just because Vaush is in the title and in the thumbnail. But obviously, I'm going to try to be as good faith as possible here. And I genuinely mean that. If you watch any of my other videos, I try to be extremely good in faith when it comes to anyone, whether they're extreme right or left, it doesn't matter. But I will try also in this video to lay out a coherent argument on why I think Vaush's rhetoric is so dangerous to a lot of people. And, if anything were to happen, in his name, why that could be obviously very problematic, as you know. But anyways, a big reason for his rhetoric recently, at least in the past month or two, has obviously been Roe v. Wade. So obviously we know with Roe v. Wade, it was a big deal. It only happened about a week ago at the time of filming this, and I actually did a YouTube Shorts on it, and it actually got over 2,000 views. I think it was sitting at 2.5K right now, so I really thank you for all the support. I definitely will do more shorts, but this was the article I used, basically like highlighting some of the photos in it and basically showing like what states are going to be affected immediately. And again, you can look at this chart, banned or mostly banned, will be banned immediately, likely to be banned, uncertain, legally, and likely protected. So just to go down here, these are the states that it will be banned or mostly banned or will be banned immediately. So I think a big thing we have to realize with Roe v. Wade, that since it's overturning and it was kicked back for the states to decide, and yes, there are a number of states that have trigger laws on the books that as soon as Roe v. Wade was overturned, that law is triggered over and now abortions are banned in that state. We understand that, as we know. But I think a framing from at least the far left individuals seem to be very like doomer or negative on this topic. And it really comes down to the point of we have to look at the entirety of the United States because they are only hyper focusing on these states that have the trigger laws, which again, horrible thing. And also, I want to make this 100% clear so everyone knows this about me. But I am on the left, so if you don't watch my videos frequently, I'm a person on the left. I make my politics very clear. I remember I took a really good political compass test like months ago, and it showed how far left I was. I thought I was more left centrist, but I'm definitely a lot farther on the left than most Americans are. So when it comes to abortion, I'm completely pro-choice. So I want to make that 100% clear. But again, I'm trying to be good faith. I'm trying to explain both sides here. But basically what the far left and basically most of the left has been doing over the past week, they have been really categorizing the overturning of Roe v. Wade as like all states are banning abortion. It's like, no, technically only about 14 or 15 at the moment are. And if we look at this this map, we can see that the X indicates that it is currently blocked by the courts in that state. And currently that's in Utah, Louisiana, and Kentucky. So there's 3 states that apparently, obviously had these trigger laws on the books, but the courts are actually blocking that at the moment, which is quite good because that means that not every trigger law has actually gone through yet. And again, most of these states, as you can see, they are in the deep red, will be banned or mostly banned. So not every single one of these states are even going to be banning every single abortion, entirely. Some states will still have abortions, but it will just be highly restricted. So I think that's very important to keep in mind. And these are the most hardcore conservative states that are banning abortion. But if we go down here, we could see the states likely to ban abortion within weeks or months. So we have Iowa, Indiana, and West Virginia, South Carolina, and Georgia here. So it's not that many states that it seems like it'll affect in the next couple of weeks or months or whatever. Again, these states are heavily conservative, so they will probably ban them. Georgia, I'm a little on the fence about because Georgia actually voted Democrat in the last election in 2020, and they seem to be moving more towards being more liberal, but again, they're still a swing state. So at the end of the day, I don't specifically know. But again, as of now, those states have not changed anything. These are the states in gray that most likely we don't know what will happen. So it's really a 50-50. But at least judging on what most Americans have the opinion of abortion on, they basically, I would at least assume, again, this is a bold assumption, but if 70% or so of people in America actually believe that they are pro-choice and they do support abortion on some level, it makes sense that these states that are uncertain right here probably aren't going to do anything. And if they were going to try to restrict abortion in any way, it would most likely be blocked or it most likely wouldn't go through. Personally, that's what I believe. Again, that's a very bold assumption. I don't think the overturning of Roe v. Wade is going to make people more against abortion. I think it's only going to, riot the people to actually hopefully facilitate change in the end. At least that's what I hope. And obviously, this is the map of the states where abortion is legal and likely to be protected. And if you just look at these states and you look at the population of these states, they are actually quite heavily populated. Like we know the population of California, Oregon, Washington, especially New York, and all of these New England states, but there's basically a big portion of the United States right now that abortion is not changing. In reality, like I said in my YouTube short, that if you live in one of these states, that's where you should be concerned. But as of now, most Americans are completely fine. And for some reason, that seems like a controversial fact to say for someone on the left. But again, the overturning of Roe v. Wade doesn't affect every American. We have to make that 100% clear. People in California are going to be totally fine. I don't see California in the next couple of weeks or months or years or ever banning abortion, especially places like Washington or Oregon or New York, or Illinois. There's going to be all these states that are still highly populated, have a lot of Americans in them, especially they are very strategic too, because if you look at a place like Illinois, there's a lot of conservative states that are most likely going to ban abortion. And as long as they don't put a law on the books that basically says you can't travel outside of state to have an abortion, then someone from Kentucky could travel to Illinois and get an abortion. That would be totally real. Again, now we're getting into the basically argument of well, if you're more well off money wise, then you should be, this will help you or benefit you more in the end. The poor people will most likely get fucked. But again, that's just America for you. If you're poor, you're fucked. But yeah, I think that's a rhetoric that is used on the left that I kind of wanted to clear up at the beginning of the show because I really, really hate that the left, and again, I don't even say far left because it seems like everyone on the left right now is super just running with this narrative that oh my gosh, it affects every single American that Roe v. Wade got overturned. And it's guys, look at the facts. Like literally, I did a YouTube short that was 30 seconds long that explained the whole thing. And, nothing is going to happen to the people in California or New York or Washington or Oregon. They're going to be fine. And even these states that are in the red now, it's not like they're all banning abortion alt-right. But yeah, it's not like they're banning abortion entirely. They are banning most abortions. There will still be some of these red states that still have some form of abortion. Again, it's very limited, but still, we have to look at the positives in this situation, but also just look at the facts. Even though I might come off with a positive tone on this situation that, hey, not everything's that bad, I'm trying to come off with a level-headed sort of take here because, again, I want to get the facts straight. And I think that, at least from a lot of people on the left I've seen aren't really getting the facts straight, which sadly seems to be the case for a lot of people. Anyways, though, moving on to Vaush, this is the obviously highlight of the episode here. And this was only 6 days ago. So this wasn't, a very distant tweet or whatever. But basically, Vaush says right here that Democratic leaders, after Republicans steal the 2024 election, reinstate slavery, build death camps, and for gay orphans, and suspend all future elections. Again, he's been running with this narrative that, again, is quite dangerous, that is basically saying that all Republicans, conservatives are evil and that we should get guns and nudge, nudge, take them out while we can. But again, he seems to be on this arc right now that is on this extremist arc where he's very much appealing to the extreme side. So if you look at his channel with his recent uploads of Roe v. Wade, he's got the Roe v. Wade, it's about to get worse. Supreme Court destroys the separation of church and state, which again, the separation of church and state one was very misconstrued. It was about I believe a high school coach praying on the 50-yard line after the game has ended. And I don't understand why a lot of people on the left have a very negative opinion on that, because to me, you have the freedom of expression in the United States. And yes, you can make the argument that, of course, he is a technically like government employee because it's public education and he's hired by that. But again, I would be very to me, I would lean more towards the freedom of expression in that. And you can look at the Vaush pit as well. You can see that he posted this video, basically, Dear Doomers. And I think the first 2 minutes of this video that I wanted to watch here are actually quite good from Vaush. And he actually is like more, I think, introspective now and actually realizes what he says. And actually gives a quite good take here. But yeah, let's just watch this and see where it goes.
Congressional district map that a lower court had blocked over racial bias concerns. Wow, the Supreme Court sure is acting quickly. They are legitimately, like, every single day making a new ruling to make the country worse. A 6-3 decision. They are going ahead with a racist congressional district map. What are ways we can stop this? Buy a gun. Not gonna lie, I strongly think you're dead wrong. We've had photos of the concentration camps at the border and hundreds of corpses from people from ICE mocking said people/bodies. Oh yeah, I don't really think there's much that can be done. Listen, what do you guys want me to say? What do you want me to get my YouTube channel banned? You all know perfectly well what I think is going to happen in this country. All right?
You see, that's why, obviously using his words there, he knows what's going to happen in this country, and he's obviously definitely alluded to that many times recently, but at least he's much more realizing that now, which is great. I think I have much better tolerance for crazy people if they actually acknowledge they're crazy, right? So I wouldn't have never considered Vaush that crazy until he went on this sort of extremist arc of Republicans are evil and all that. But again, it's I shouldn't be surprised because Vaush seems to go on these crazy arcs in the past 2 years. I mean, I've been a fan of Vaush since he really started his YouTube channel back in 2019. I think he was actually a really talented debater and was actually Destiny 2.0 in a way. I thought he would actually overtake Destiny, which he almost did. But I think he really has gone downhill, especially this year. I remember I made one of my one of my AIA episodes on his drama with J.K. Rowling, I believe, and that one, I remember at that point, that's when I stopped becoming like really a fan of Vaush. I still watch his videos, obviously, because I still want to keep in touch with that side of the internet, because I'm on that side of the internet of that sort of debate, liberal side or left side of the internet, I should say. But you know, it's I don't know. I still watch his stuff, and I still think he has some good qualities. I don't think he's all bad now or whatever. I still think he's a talented debater, but yeah, again, I think he's going downhill.
All of you are perfectly well aware of the fact that I think that Republicans are going to attempt another coup, dismantle our democratic processes, and build camps, all right? You all know that. I can't keep repeating that. You all ask me, you know? What if we can't buy guns? Buy hammers. And don't buy guns if you have mental health issues. And quit being stupid and ask me the same fucking questions every time. What can we do about this? I know that you're all feeling doomer about this, but like, the real answers are the same as always. Go out and fucking campaign, all right? Talk to people. Like, go look for local representatives that you can talk with. We have a whole fucking canvassing that we're going to try to tip off. In this case, the primaries matter infinitely less than the generals, unfortunately, but we're going to do what we can. You know, fucking talk to people. Join orgs. Join the SRA. Join the DSA. Work with Democrats. Democrats in office are far better than Republicans, even if they are not fully the solution, okay?
And I think that's a really great take. You know, obviously, he's sort of alluded to the fact in the beginning about the whole gun thing, about you should buy guns because, you know, Republicans evil and all that. But then he says in the very next, like, little speech he had, was that, like, hey, you know, you should go out and you should vote and you should, you know, talk to Democrats and talk to these candidates and see which ones are right and see which ones that are not, quote unquote, evil. And that, to me, is like, that's what he should be advocating for. But again, that's boring, right? And like, I think he really needed to make this video because sadly it went on his second channel, so not everyone's going to see it. But again, I'm glad he kind of made this video and had that opinion, because that's a really good opinion to have. And it's not a dangerous opinion to have. That's like getting people involved in politics instead of scaring them away to these corners of the internet with, you know, their guns they recently bought that they probably don't know how to use because they're liberals or people on the left that don't use guns. And it's, I don't really know what to say, but it's like, this is what he should have been doing for months now. He should have never gone on this Republicans, you know, are evil arc.
At the end of the day, like, here's what you have to understand, okay? Past a certain point, you continuing to watch my content when you're like, what should we do? What should we do? Like, is self-harm, okay? That's what you're doing.
True.
All right? You know what you should be doing. You can literally Google, like, local political candidates and, like, call them. Like, you know what you can do. You just don't want to do it. What you want is for me to calm you. But I can't calm you. Things are as bad as you think it is. As you think they are. Possibly worse.
So I think that's where I'll end it here, because again, I'm trying to be a better reactor and not react to full videos. And, you know, again, I don't want Vaush or his fans coming after me about stealing content because, you know, I'm having bad takes or controversial takes right now. But again, I think that's really good of him to say now, is finally just say like, hey, what, you're watching me right now. You've been watching me for months say that like, oh, everything's bad. You know, Republicans evil. You know, you're self-harming yourself at the end of the day because you're just scaring yourself every single day, which is like totally correct. Finally, he said this and he's acknowledging this. But again, he is also still having this rhetoric of like, things are so bad. Oh my gosh. And it's like, again, I don't think things are so bad nowadays. If you want to talk about the economy and inflation, yeah, that's pretty bad. But if you want to talk about other things, I think, you know, we've made a lot of progress. And personally, if you are, you know, someone on the left, it might not look good for 2024, but I would say future-wise, we probably, again, it's hard to assume farther and farther in the future, but at least like socially, we've accomplished a lot on the left. And I think, you know, politically, there has been a good amount, mainly just kind of avoiding the things that Trump tried to do. Obviously, he was successful in employing the Supreme Court justices, but, you know, blocked a lot of his other things. But yeah, I think as someone on the left and people in that sphere, we've came a long way, especially socially. And, just look at how far the acceptance of the LGBTQ plus community has come in the past decade, right? Like no one even knew what a trans person was a decade ago. And now we're all talking about them. Should they be playing in the same sport? So obviously as the left, I think socially and politically, we've came a long way. And obviously the younger generation, the Zoomers, seem to be more liberal, or at least on the left, which is good, at least in my opinion. And I would hope Vaush would agree. So again, I don't think it's the time to be doomer if you're, if you really care about the economy, like someone like me. I do care about the economy a lot, and the fact that we are going through a major inflation and it's harder to buy a house than ever, and we have a lot of problems at the moment. Yeah, obviously, I think you could be doomer about that because, it doesn't look like we're going to hit recovery for, probably another year or two. But at least socially and politically, I think as someone on the left, we've accomplished a lot and we've come a long way. Anyways, though, I wanted to show you, I have a lot of more clips here, basically Vaush being sort of this, where he's basically presenting his fear mongering. Like, obviously this was a video he posted, actually yesterday, because now it's 12:05. But yeah, he posted this video, the most recent video at the time of recording this, which is really great. But I basically want to show you some clips and kind of how he talked about his rhetoric back then. So let's watch.
Statements are going to lead to vastly different risks of that leading to stochastic violence. So do you agree or disagree with that?
Of course, but the problem there is one of honesty. If the second statement was true, if the country literally was getting invaded and was going to be destroyed, which is of course not the case with any immigrant group, but if that hyperbolic language was true, then yeah, whatever products, that language might lead to people getting angrier, but it's also an honest assessment of the situation. We have to be honest. For example, people have been, including liberals, by the way, not just those crazy lefties, have been talking about how the attack on Roe versus Wade is this huge, huge, huge deal. That's already led to a Molotov bombing of an office. That's going to lead to a lot of stochastic violence. Should I not say, yeah, Republicans are revoking Roe v. Wade on a federal level because, they don't believe in women's reproductive and health rights? Because that might instill in my audience,
So again, that's kind of goes back to the whole Roe v. Wade thing, and he's also pushing the sort of narrative that Republicans are doing this when technically the Supreme Court is not Republicans or Democrats. These are just supposed to be unbiased figures interpreting the Constitution and how the law of the land should be. But again, he's kind of implanting that sort of thing in there. And he also likes to sort of make the comparison between the Nazis and how they invaded versus and how they built camps as well, because he keeps bringing up camps. He brought it up in this tweet as well, but he seems to bring that up a lot. The Republicans are going to invade these liberal states and build camps and kill all the gay people. But again, that was one of his points here, and I also have another point here. Let's see, 116. This one was also quite funny too. All right, here we go. What the fuck?
Right now, we just had a DTG dialogue tree that was imposed upon us right now on stream. There's nothing of value to be gathered from this.
I do feel that way, because I do feel that your input on this is at least partially determined by. I guess at the end of the day, speaking frankly, my positions are so objectively correct that I feel like outside Destiny's obsession and the waves that makes, you'd have to be really fucking retarded to disagree with them. Everything that I've said, I feel.
And that really gives you, I hope, a sort of little inkling of how Vaush thinks, is that he is just so right on everything. He's fundamentally correct on what he says about Republicans, that they are evil and those are the facts and you need to accept them. And, you might have heard of this thing called ontologically, or this word, sorry. And this is something that Vaush says a lot, it seems. Ontologically evil. He uses this a lot. And this was a meme for a lot of left-leaning people using this, or at least philosophy wannabes on YouTube or Discord or whatever doing debates, is that they use the word ontologically to sound smart, but in reality the definition of ontological is relating to the branch of metaphysics dealing with the nature of being. So basically, when someone says ontological or ontologically or whatever, it's basically the nature of being, what is natural. So when someone says something like Vaush does, where it's Republicans are ontologically evil, he basically is trying to say that they are naturally evil at the state they are. They're just naturally evil. And again, you can kind of see where this rhetoric is sort of bad in a way, because now you're just saying that this group of people, this massive group of people in the United States, basically 50% of people in the United States, are just fundamentally evil. And, obviously, when you say something is fundamentally evil, you want to get rid of it, obviously. And that's where the rhetoric gets sort of dangerous. And again, this is another conversation he had. I will show you 2 clips from them. But basically, Vaush, all conservatives are like Nazis. We should kill Nazis. And I don't know if that's going to get me demonetized of the video, blacklisted off of YouTube. But again, just comparing conservatives to Nazis, this is something that Vaush does a lot. Now, again, he could be doing it unironically or ironically. I 100% don't know. But basically, here's what a normal person would say. He's like, dude, did you say we should like kill all conservatives? But Vaush is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Stop being so bad faith. When did I ever say anything like that? You are deranged. Stop being so obsessed. And this is something that Vaush has done in his recent debates now, where he's basically talking about like, oh, if Republicans are ontologically evil or not, and he'll make the comparison directly to Nazis, and then the person will say in the debate, like, I'm pretty sure the person he was debating here, what's his name, Luke Beasley, is that he said that, like, you know, why should we kill Republicans then? Because again, you're comparing them to this group of people, and this group of people are bad, and we saw what they did, so we need to do that. And Vaush is like, wait, you know, I'm not saying anything like that, because if Vaush was to say something like that, obviously his channel would be deleted, and he would, you know, not be streaming on YouTube anymore, and basically not have a platform. And that's why he's very careful with his words. But I think fundamentally, or at least like deep down, for what Vaush actually believes, if he actually believes the things he's saying, again, that might be a stretch. But if we actually, let's, you know, put in his shoes, and he actually, like, you know, we are Vaush, he believes these things he's saying, you know, then he does technically believe that, like, you know, we should kill all conservatives, because again, they're like Nazis, and we should obviously kill Nazis. So this is what Vaush believes, and I have 2 other clips to show you here. So this was a debate he did with Luke Beasley, and this is where it really, I guess, caught on for me, where I could see this being a big problem with Vaush. This is where he leaned hard into the fact that, hey, conservatives are evil, and you need to know this. And so I'm going to be showing you these clips here. So let's get into it.
Your side currently, but that's not going to save us from a fascistic takeover. We definitely have to get enough actual political power, and the only way you do that is to have broad appeal in your movement and not just sound like, oh, see, there's radicals on the left and radicals on the left. I don't think, because our policy prescriptions aren't even radical. Maybe farther down socialist.
So they call us radical either way. They call Biden
people
radical.
Understand the difference. People call Bernie radical, exactly, and it didn't work with Biden. They'll call you that, but if it lands on people, is a different thing.
Republicans have called Biden a communist. I don't think my rhetoric, this is where, with respect, I think this is liberal brain rot. I don't think acknowledging that you should arm yourself in preparation for a genocide and that the people who want to kill minorities are evil is an optical harm. I think you're falling for civility politics.
But I'm saying that I'm not, okay, in my own, okay, you have to understand that a lot of people who aren't, I don't like using this because I know Destiny has like a thing against online lefties, and it sounds like you have a obsession with it. And I'm not super obsessed.
Do you think it's a crazy online lefty thing to arm yourself in preparation? Hold up.
Just let me finish the thought.
Okay.
My point is, most people, even who consider themselves liberal, who are a part of our broader movement, definitely don't think of the Republican Party currently as being preparing to slaughter minorities in the streets.
That's what I want to fix.
And so when you say
exactly, why can't we have that understanding? Most people out there do not believe that Republicans are trying to create this camp or have these plans of killing off minorities or gay people or whatever. And Vaush is the one pushing this idea, and obviously wants to change this, but in the wrong way.
That people go, well, then you have to explain it in a way that comes off as sort of logical. The way that you explain it is as if you're just as, even though because I've watched you, I know you're not, so I take it more seriously. But for someone else who hasn't, doesn't have that underlying understanding of kind of your thought process, then it definitely comes off as just as kind of detached.
I talk to my audience, right? But I've explained my rationale dozens and dozens of times about the necessity of forming strong neighborhood-based political blocs, whether you're leftist or liberal. This isn't about socialism here. This is just about building communities that aren't going to roll over when authoritarians try to tear apart our democracy. I don't like the thing is, to me, like, you are the one more out of touch with America than I am here, because
you see, that is where I think Vaush is on the crazy side more or less now, is as soon as you start saying to Luke Beasley here, I don't know him personally, but I have heard him have conversations with Destiny and obviously Vaush. He seems like a pretty level-headed person, and he's a young dude. He makes political content. He's, basically I would consider myself like very much sort of like him. He runs a political show. I run a show where I mainly do politics. But again, I think he's a very level-headed person. And the fact that Vaush, an older person who's been in politics longer, who's also been online probably longer, is so out of touch, to call him out of touch just to be edgy or appeal to these sort of like extremists, because that's what he's doing at this moment. And if you don't, if all of this evidence that I put for you don't, convince you that Vaush might be a little bit crazy, let's play the last clip.
With keeping the status quo, but I think the center of the country is very willing to some change.
I'll just be a bit more direct here.
Go for it.
I think that for interpersonal conversations, it's very important to adopt certain rhetorical approaches to make people feel like they're understood and to address their concerns. I also feel like we're on the precipice of a genocide.
And I think I will leave you with that. I hope that, obviously, all of the evidence that I put before you, obviously with Vaush saying that we are on the precipice of a genocide, the United States, against gay people, minorities, whatever, I don't exactly know. And obviously he changes it sort of week to week to whatever fill his narrative. But I think personally, I have put forth a good argument of why Vaush's rhetoric is dangerous, because having this sort of platform, we have to realize that Vaush has 400K subscribers on his main channel, and he has over 100K on his second channel. So when we look at Vaush and hit the totality of his audience, we're talking about 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, a very active subreddit, Discord, whatever. It only takes one extreme person to do one extreme thing in the name of Vaush, obviously, to totally tarnish his name. And, maybe Vaush deep down would love one of his crazy fans to do one of these crazy things. And, I don't want to mention one of these crazy things, but, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, something with a gun, and Republicans. But again, I don't know if he will feel very happy about that, or he'll actually start feeling some sort of regret of the rhetoric that he has had the past couple of months, because what he has done the past couple of months with this rhetoric as strike fear into the minds of young online leftists, because the majority of his audience is young and they are leftists and they are terminally online. And he just seems to fill their heads with this rhetoric of Republicans are evil, 50% of the United States is against you at all times, and they want to actually kill you. And again, I wish that, he could sort of have this more boring, because it is boring, sort of take of how about you go outside more, engage with politics, talk with people from the other side. I don't think they're going to say they want to kill you, or they actually do want to kill you. And I think facilitating conversation is one of the best things. At least the area I live in, I always talk to people on the other side. I live in a very conservative area, so I talk to a lot of conservatives. I know what's on their mind. I don't think they want to kill gay people or minorities. I don't think that is their status quo, and I don't think that they have some sort of grand conspiracy theory of building camps to actually do that. But again, maybe you are totally convinced with Vaush's side, and you might want to watch his content more and engage with the sort of online leftist extremist that everything's going to shit doomer content, because that's what Vaush is facilitating, in my opinion. But anyways, these are all my opinions at the end of the day, and all of these videos that I used and Reddit post will be linked down in the description, hopefully. But anyways, that's about it for this episode. I hope everyone enjoyed it. And until next time, see ya.